bringing new tech to vehicle damage inspections. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from a company called Click-Ins is CEO Josh Parsons. Hi, Josh.
Hi, good morning.
Pleasure to meet you. And I suppose we should start with a bit of background about your startup.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually took over as the CEO of this. This company's been around for 10 years. I took over as the CEO in November of last year. So spent a lot of time in R&D, and it's an Israeli-based company. Started out really trying to fight insurance fraud and has kind of pivoted. They still do that, but has pivoted on several different angles. So I kind of came about the company in a weird way because I was initially an investor but have been in automotive for 20 years. So really, when I saw the technology and used the technology as a customer on the customer side, that's what really drew me to the company.
So tell us about the technology and what it does and what's so different.
Yeah, absolutely. So to keep it really simple, as far as what the company does, it's the value prop is, can you take pictures of a car with a smartphone and use AI and a lot of other engineering principles to be able to pull out the damage that's found on the car. So it's a process that historically, if people do it and they do it right, and when I say people that inspect cars, it's anywhere from 15 minutes to 3 hours, depending on how detailed you are and how much damage is on the car. We can take 8 pictures of the car and do that in under a minute. So really, it's not about using AI to completely replace the human, but to augment the human and the human workflow, and to really kind of give the human superpowers when they do vehicle inspections.
So, what is this technology seeing that I'm not seeing maybe with just my eyes?
The short answer is nothing. So, I mean, I think that if you look long enough and hard enough, anything that the technology sees, the human eye should be able to see as well. The difference is, uh, humans by our nature, especially people that are, if you're doing a job that's repetitive over and over again, say inspecting cars, my background comes from, I started before this company. I founded a company that became one of the largest digital vehicle marketplaces in the world. And when you inspect millions of cars, those inspectors that are doing those workflows tend to skip over things. They tend to get lazy and really focus on the stuff that's the big ticket items. Maybe they skip over scratches, dents, and also from just a workflow standpoint, humans tend to miss things. So, to answer your question, the AI is pulling out anything from a pixel level in the image that can be seen, inside that image. It's not X-ray vision. It's not some kind of, new technology that has the ability to look beyond the pixel level of an image. But it pulls out everything that the human eye is capable of seeing, but it does it much faster and much more accurately. So when you look at a car, for example, that has a scratch, as a human, we can say, okay, there's a scratch on the door and it appears to be 2 to 3 inches long. And you can say that, you can put it in an inspection report. The AI can take that a step further. First of all, we use photogrammetry. We can actually measure that scratch precisely down to the millimeter. We can also geolocate that scratch on the panel, down to the millimeter of exactly where it's at, and it doesn't miss it. It's just time and again, it's going to be very accurate and precise. So it basically just makes that process a lot more scientific than the status quo.
Step us through how it's used.
Yeah, so it's used in a couple different ways. Either way, it's all smartphone driven. We have customers that use our API into their native applications, and basically we just replace the camera roll in their native application. So think like in my previous life, in auto remarketing, we would inspect cars prior to cars going to auction. We were already taking pictures of those cars. Our technology just integrates via API into that native application. So instead of taking pictures with just the basic camera roll on the phone, they're doing that, but our technology in the background is doing the analysis of the images and pulling out all the scratches, dents, misaligned panels, all those things in the background. So it's a background process that's running while the rest of the inspection's being done. We also have customers that use our web application. So think of an insurance company that wants to know what condition the car is in before they issue policy. They're able to send a link to our web application to their customer, and any retail customer is able to just go out in their driveway, again, take 8 pictures of the car, and that will instantly transmit, any pre-existing damage to the insurance company. So they'll have a baseline of what condition the car's in before a policy is issued or at renewal. They can do the same process at the time of an accident. So car gets in an accident, status quo is typically the insurance company will say, take some pictures of the car. This takes it a step further and allows that not only is there pictures taken of the car, but there's a damage profile of what happened to the car. So then, that insurance company is able to, in some cases, they actually will write an estimate without another human ever touching, their customer takes a picture of the car, the insured, that gets transmitted to the insurance company. Say somebody hits a pole at a Starbucks and just scrapes down the side of the car. Um, we actually partner with some software companies that will write a full estimate on that without humans ever being in the mix. So it's AI agents saying, okay, based off the parameters of the damage profile, we're comfortable writing a full estimate on this car. Say it hit a tree instead of a pole and the whole front end smashed in. They're using our tech at that point to presumptively say, okay, there's underlying damage. This car's either a total loss or we need to have an adjuster come out. So at that point, they're kind of using us as air traffic control to say, okay, how does the claim process work from here?
Is this something that consumers can use too? Say my neighbor wants to sell me his car.
So right now we don't. The answer is yes. We have the capability to do that. It's not something from a. We haven't really. That hasn't been the focus of the company yet. I think probably our first foray into like true consumer facing, and we're still trying to figure out how to tackle that market, is with rental cars, specifically people that rent cars when they go overseas. So, I was in Costa Rica in March, and rental car companies outside of the US operate very, very differently because they know that, I don't know if you've traveled internationally and run into this renting a car, but in the US, there's only, a handful of like really large brands of rental car companies. They want to see frequency and people, repeat customers coming back again and again and again. So they try to take friction out of the process. So if you scratch a door on a rental car in the US and it's not major, they're not going to charge you back for that scratch or that little ding. You go to Costa Rica and you even get a 3-inch scratch or 2-inch scratch on a door of a car, you can bet that they're going to be charging you and billing you back for that scratch. And I think a lot of times what consumers run into in that type of instance is, they're first of all, they might be unaware that that's even going to happen. And secondly, they're so excited to go on their vacation and go along, they probably don't do the walk around and really document the damage that exists on the car before they rent it. So one of the things we're thinking about to put this in the hands of the actual consumers versus the enterprise level that we focus on now is, you know, can people use our mobile app to just take pictures of the car before they rent it and after, so that, they actually have a digital record of the condition of the car, so they don't get fleeced when they go to rent cars overseas.
Interesting. So even if I'm buying, say, switching to a new insurance company, they might want to, get a look at the vehicle to make sure that I'm not claiming something that already exists, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, we're really seeing that in Europe right now. So a lot of the cost of insurance and a lot of the cost that's going up is people stacking damages onto claims that were pre-existing. In the US, that's something that we're starting to see traction on, and I think it's something that, as insurance companies want to be competitive and keep the cost of insurance down to consumers, this has already started on houses. I've lived in the same neighborhood for 17 years, and I moved and remodeled the house that I moved into, and I'd been with Travelers Insurance for, gosh, 20 years at that point. And the new house that we remodeled, they had us walk through. We had to take pictures of the HVAC system. Like there was all these things that we had to do to issue the new policy on the new house that I had never had to go through before. And the explanation was, look, there's between the inflation that we saw from 2020, kind of, it's starting to slow, but the inflation we've seen the last few years and the frequency and the increase in rate of claims, insurance companies have to really make sure that what they're insuring is what it is. and what people say it is at the time of policy issuance. And so I think as consumers, it's a good thing for consumers to be able to have a baseline because the people that aren't the bad actors shouldn't have to pay for all the folks that are the bad actors.
Right. So any thoughts about how far off a consumer app is for you?
So we have a web app that can work right now for consumers. Really, it's not a matter of functionality. It's more a matter of how do we get it in the hands of consumers and do it cost effectively for on our end because the cost of an individual inspection to a consumer is not that much. And so, if I was to put an app out there and, I don't know what the appetite of consumers would be to pay, X dollars a month for an app. We usually charge on a per inspection basis. Um, but really the challenge that we're trying to face as a company is distribution and how would we distribute it to consumers and get our name out there on the consumer level.
Terrific. So for more information, where can people go?
They can go to clickins.com. That's our website. It's just click-ins.com. And there's all kinds of information on what we do, who we work with. We're always putting new news articles on there of new integrations and customers that we're working with. And a lot of our integrations and a lot of our growth strategy right now is through integration partners. So sometimes you might see our technology in the future, whether it's through a rental car company or an insurance company, and not even know that it's us in the background. But it's a new technology that's kind of, we're allowing them to white label it, whether it's an insurance company, rental car company, transportation logistics company. So I think that, a lot of consumers might see this in the future and not even know that it's us because it's being branded by somebody else, but it's our underlying technology that's, you know, you get a link on your phone that says, "Hey, complete these pictures, open this link and complete these pictures." And you've got this, AI bot walking you through how to take pictures of your car. That's probably going to be us if you see that. So.
And the AI is getting better all the time, right?
It is. It is. One of the things that's interesting with us is, we train all of our models using synthetic data. And that's I think one of the challenges you see with AI, whether it's any of these large language models, is they're only, I don't want to say they're only as good as the available information that's out there because they're getting better at how they consume the available information that's out there. And when I say that's out there, that's either publicly available or in a lot of cases of some of these LLMs, stuff that they can get their hands on that might not be as public. And I mean, I think that gets kind of controversial in the AI space right now because it really is the wild, wild west. But um, with us, it's a little bit different. What we saw and what the company saw and the founders saw, and they're really brilliant, is there's only so many real world pictures of cars with damage that can be documented and documented appropriately where you don't have hallucinations. And when I say hallucination, specifically in the visual intelligence space, that could be anything from a reflection to bird droppings to road salt or dirt. You can think all those things that exist on a car that when you see it, you might think it's damage, but it's not actually damage. It's something else. Um, it's really, really hard to train AI to be able to delineate between those things. And that's a challenge a lot of folks that have tried to do what we're doing have run into is how do they train these models to not hallucinate and to be accurate, to be as accurate or more accurate than the human eye? Because once they hit that level, they're always going to be faster. Once you train an AI to do something and do it right, it's the processing speed is much faster than the human mind as far as the capabilities of what it can do. But it's how do you train it at the beginning to not hallucinate, not have these issues. Um, we've done everything with synthetic data, which is really, really interesting. And what I mean by synthetic data is everything that we train our models on is really a virtual environment. So we build cars in our own CAD system that if you look at the car once it's built, it looks like a real car. So that's a real Honda Accord. If you saw a picture of it, you would think, okay, that's really a Honda Accord that they've got sitting there on your computer screen. It's not. It's completely virtual environment. But what that allows us to do is replicate all of those environmental things that you would run into when you have a picture of a car in a fake environment and do it very, very quickly and train our models on it. So I'll give you an example. Like you take that Honda Accord, we can change the color of that Honda Accord to any color we've ever seen before on a car. We can do that instantaneously and quickly. And then on top of that, we can layer on any reflection that we've ever seen before to train our model. So any tree, any light pole, any, power lines overhead, clouds, sun, shade, rain, snow, we can do all that training in a virtual environment. So, the founders of the company that are very, very technical will tell you like our solution's 25% AI and 75% really advanced engineering principles. So it's really interesting. That's why you're never going to be able to take like a Gemini or Chat GPT and train a model like what we've built. It's a very specialized model.
Well, the site again is click-ins.com. Congratulations on all the innovation there. Josh Parsons, thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.